Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Sarah Sutton. I need to take out the headphone. Rude. I'm an indie author of 4 young adult romance books, all linked down below. They range from friends to lovers to fake relationships to second chances to just a plain good old winter romance. So if you guys are curious about looking at those, it's the Love in Fenton County series. Like I said, all linked down below in audio, ebook, and in paperback on wide platforms. Welcome back to my channel. I have my iced coffee here in a very strange cup, I will say. Satisfying. So my hair looks a little wild today. I should have taken this section over here. I didn't think it through. I just threw it up really quick because it was wet and ugly and gross. And the tight bun look I don't think suits me, but we're on the grind today. Grind, Sarah? What the heck are you talking about? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about an updated Patreon video. I launched my Patreon back in November, which was 169 days ago, according to Siri, which is crazy to me that we launched it so long ago, but I did launch it on November 1st. My very first short story was on November 15th, and I remember being so nervous. This is really bright. Hang on one second. I was just so nervous and anxious about it, but people ended up really enjoying all the short stories you get once a month over on my Patreon, and I will say writing that has been really fun. So I'm going to talk more about it in depth, but before we hop into the video, if you want to hit that like button, it really does help out my channel. Tap that subscribe button because we got content for days. Well, technically for 3 days a week. One on Monday, one on Wednesday, and one on Friday. We post a video. I do. That's me, Sarah Sutton. I do. I have a book coming out May 25th that is called Two Kinds of Us. There's no pre-order link yet, but it's coming April 30th along with the cover reveal. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. Fun things are happening in the future, so hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Without further ado, let's hop into our Patreon chit-chat video of today, where we do a talk about my thoughts on it, cost breakdown. It doesn't cost me anything. I mean, well, it does. We'll get into that and things like that. So let's do this thing. Patreon powers membership businesses for creators by giving them the tools they need to acquire, manage, and energize their paying patrons. With a subscription-style payment model, fans pay their favorite creators a monthly amount of their choice in exchange for exclusive access, extra content, or a closer look into their creative journey. That is what Patreon is. So it's kind of like a tip jar of sorts for your favorite creators. You pay one fee once a month. The creator can set the fee, but then you can also choose to go above and beyond that fee if you want to. For example, my Patreon, I only have one tier at the moment, and it is a $1 tier. But I do have people pledging $2, and I even have one person that pledged $10 a month. So you can choose to pledge whatever you want. If you want to pledge the minimum amount, you definitely can, but you can always pledge more to tip your creative content person more if you choose to. Now, the reason why I chose to do a Patreon is because I had been writing these short stories and posting them on my newsletter, not monetized. And that's totally okay, but I found myself kind of falling short on updating a story, you know, writing a short story or doing the boy point of views, and I really wanted to jump into doing boy point of views from my books. We'll talk about that in a second. So I was just kind of falling flat. I wasn't really motivated to write them. I had ideas I could write, but I wasn't really motivated to. And I was talking with a friend one day. We were brainstorming, and she suggested about opening up a Patreon account, which was that, you know, people can subscribe in exchange for content you give them once a month, exclusive content. My friend suggested to do my short stories over on Patreon, which kind of blew my mind because it takes away the do I want to do it? Time equals money kind of issue, because that's the thing. When you're a busy person, you really have to do the cost breakdown of what your time is in terms of money. I'm not saying that correctly, but you know what I mean. Your time is money. You have to value your time, put a value to your time. You know, you can't just do things because it's a fine line. Drink break. And for me, doing the short stories for free was a bit difficult because I was kind of putting my own writing on the back burner to do those short stories. So it didn't quite make sense to do it for free once a month on my newsletter. But switching over to a paid platform like Patreon, it kind of made a bit more sense because I could write the stories I wanted to write and people wanted to read them for a dollar amount that would be able to keep me going. But it was a little hard at first to kind of like switch my mind over because I'm like, nobody's going to want to subscribe to this, you know. I'm not a big name author. Not even close. So I'm like, people aren't gonna want to. But then again, if there's no harm in trying, you know what I mean? I didn't know if anybody would sign up, but really there was like no harm, no foul. I didn't have to pay to sign up to be a patron, you know. I didn't have to pay for anything like that. I just set it up and waited for anybody to come when I launched it. So like I mentioned, I started my Patreon on November 1st, 2020, 169 days ago, according to Siri. If his math is wrong, it's not my fault, okay? And since then, I've published 6 short stories. And technically, only 2 of them were true short stories, but 4 of them were boy point of view chapters. You guys, I love the boy point of view chapters. And what I mean by that is, take my book, What Are Friends For? The love interest in What Are Friends For is Elijah Grayback. So I took Elijah and I wrote 3 chapters from the book in his point of view. So we kind of see Remy's point of view in the entire book. But I took 3 chapters that were kind of like high in angst, you know? And I translated them from Remy's point of view into Elijah's point of view. And it was so fun to just see his thoughts on things, you know. It was just so fun. And that's actually why I thought about starting a Patreon, because I really wanted to explore that avenue of my boys. Elijah, Walsh, Lucas, Vincent, and all the boys yet to come. I really wanted to explore that avenue a little bit more, and I knew people on Patreon most likely would have read those books. On my newsletter, it's kind of hit or miss who has actually read my books. I might still be on their TBRs, and that's totally okay. But I knew for a fact on my Patreon, most people would have read those books. And if they haven't yet, I always announce the short story 15 days before it launches, so they can bump the book on their TBR if they want to read the book first, and then the boys' point of view second. I'm just talking so fast. I think that is the cool thing about it, because it's kind of like a personalized reader group. So people come to support their favorite creators, right? And it's awesome because I know that every single person on there wants to be there. They enjoyed my stories enough that they wanted to give me $1 a month in exchange for more short stories, you know, more bonus content. And that is mind-blowing to me. I don't know, it's kind of like thinking about people actually purchasing a book of mine. I think it's hard to wrap my brain around that people would actually want to purchase anything that I'm doing. It's also exciting, and that alone makes me excited to create content every month, because I know people are going to read it. It takes away the feel like I'm doing this, but it's taking up a lot of time, because now that it's monetized, it's easier to dedicate time to it. It's not like, oh my gosh, I have to work on this and put my own book on the back burner. Like, no, since they're both monetized, they both have equal weight in my day, in my planning, in my schedule. Kind of like YouTube. YouTube is now monetized, so I can now dedicate a certain amount of time to it. Whereas before, when I wasn't monetized, it was kind of like whenever I had time. And granted, we were in a pandemic back when I started it, so I had plenty of time. But kind of like whenever I had time. So things that don't necessarily equate to money sometimes have to be put on the back burner just because, you know, I'm an adult. We all have bills. That doesn't mean I don't love it any less. But now that it is monetized in a way that's only $1 a month, it's super easy for me to dedicate time to it and make that a part of my monthly schedule. So let's talk about my monthly schedule really quick. I usually post 2 Patreon posts a month. I post one as the announcement post where I say, hey, I'm going to be doing this short story this month. And then the other one is the short story of the month. I post the announcement post on the 1st of the month, and then the short story is always on the 15th of the month. That way we can all get excited about it and, you know, anticipate it coming for that month. It's easier than just saying it comes out every 1st of the month, because the month just starts and sometimes you're not really in the groove of the month yet. I don't know. So that's just the route that I chose to do, just to publish on the 15th. I liked it. It gave me plenty of time to work on it, and it was kind of easier to schedule out in my brain. The boy point of view chapters, I will say, are so much easier to write than the other short stories that I write, because the boy point of view chapters, all I have to do is take my book, open up to the chapter that I want to rewrite from my boy's point of view, and then rework and add the boy's like thoughts and feelings, and rework it so the dialogue tags are flipped, so the I is now Walsh and the she is now Sophia. It's super easy to kind of make that switch, where short stories are kind of just like brainstorming a new little mini story, which is so fun. I've got so many in my head for this next like upcoming little few months, and I'm excited to tackle them. I think writing the short stories is super fun too, because I'm going back to those main characters, you know, and I'm living life with them again, and it's a nice throwback that I absolutely love. Recently I went back to Waterfronts 4 and like was skimming through it for Elijah's point of view, in a short story that I have in my brain coming up soon that I'm going to keep quiet about. I was looking back and it was just so fun to relive those moments, and Patreon kind of gives me an excuse to relive them now. So that's another thing that I love about this platform and the short stories that I write. Before we head into cost breakdown, I want to talk about 2 questions that have been weighing on my mind, and 2 questions that I kind of get asked quite a bit. Is it hard to do every month? The answer is no-ish. No-ish. Generally, no. Like I just mentioned, the boy point of view chapters are really easy. The short stories require a little bit more brain power. If I plan it out well, things go great. You know, I have enough time to do it. I have enough time to write the story, polish it, proofread it, because I want to make sure it's up to some great standards. There will be typos here and there because I'm not going to pay for a proofreader, because that just wouldn't make sense. I want to make sure it's formatted super pretty and the fonts are all there. But sometimes, rare, this just doesn't happen that often, Sarah is a poor planner. I always get them done. I will never not get them done. This is something that has to get done every month because it is monetized. People are waiting on me. They're expecting me. They're waiting for me to show up with a short story, and I cannot miss this deadline. Sometimes though, I don't start on it as early as I would like. Sometimes I start on it like 5 days before it's supposed to be submitted, which is kind of stressful, but it always gets done. The cool thing about the Patreon short stories is that they aren't as difficult as a novel, obviously, because the short stories generally are around 8,000 words. Sometimes less, sometimes, I don't think anything's been more, to be honest, but around 8,000 words is where my short stories have been as of late. It's not hard for me to like rack my brain and pour out a story and edit it and stuff, and so it's not as hard, but when I don't block out my time correctly, then it gets a little dicey, but it always gets done. That is one thing, always gets done. The second thing, would I recommend other authors to do this? Yes. I will say though, I'm a fast writer. I've always been kind of a fast writer. And I learned to type, like, you know, in the grade school, you learn to type without looking at the keyboard. I think I learned that in 5th grade. So I was able to type not looking at the keyboard from 5th grade on. So I started really early in my writing career, you know, as much of a career can be as a 5th grader. So I write really fast, and my brain goes a mile a minute thinking of short story ideas and like dialogue ideas, plot points, all that stuff. It goes a mile a minute, and it shows because I always stumble over my words. So I think I'm in a good position to have a Patreon, you know what I mean? If I were a short, what is, I'm a fast writer, slow. That's the word, not short. Fudge, hang on. If I were a slower writer, and it took me a little bit longer to get 8,000 words written, I don't know if I would have started a Patreon. But if you've been debating about starting a Patreon and posting your own short stories, I definitely say do it because it can't really hurt you. As long as you have enough time to commit to it, I definitely say go for it and try it out. I have the hiccups. Alright, now to the breakdown of my costs for April and how much I made for April and what Patreon amounts look like. Before we hop into that though, if you want to take a quick second to scroll down and tap that like button, it really would help me out. I would really appreciate it. We're getting so close to 2,000 subscribers, which blows my mind. So if you guys want to tap that like button and tap that subscribe button, it boosts me in the algorithm and it shows new people my channel. So if you want to do that, that would make me smile. And if you want to share this video with your friends who are authors or writers who enjoy this kind of content, I would really appreciate it. Or even readers of the young adult romance genre. for a little behind the scenes author action. Alright, let's get back into the video. So, the April cost breakdown, I had 40 patrons. It says April, but this was technically for March, okay? So, it'd be the March cost breakdown, but I got paid in April, all those kind of things. I had 40 patrons the month of March. I'm now up to 41, so thank you to everybody who has signed up to be a patron. I'll do a shout out at the end of the video. But for March, I had 40 patrons, and all of their pledges total came to $53.66, which, to be honest, is a nice little chunk of change every single month, depending on who cancels and who signs up in the meantime, of course. But $53.66 is awesome. It's just people signing up to tip me once a month. Yeah, it's crazy. However, that is not money that I get to take home. I mean, to be honest, the fees aren't that crazy, but they are enough that make me go, We'll get into that. So, payment fees. And I'm reading this off the Patreon website. Payment fees cover the cost of processing payments from your patrons, including currency conversion, recurring billing, recovering failed payments, and fighting fraud. So if I have a UK-based patron, which I do have a few, I think I would pay the conversion rates, which makes sense. So payment fees for the month of April were $7.04. Which feels like a lot, but then like I said, I do have a few overseas patrons. I think I have a few from UK and then a few from Australia. Where's my voice going? Come on, stay with me. And then the other fee that I have to pay is a platform fee. And according to Patreon, platform fees cover the cost of Patreon's membership platform and are a percentage of your successful patron payments. That is why I said that I technically don't have to pay Patreon to have this platform, but it does come out of my sales. Anything that you do through somebody else will, charge you a fee. Like Kindle charges you a fee for publishing through them. Redbubble charges me a fee for doing my merchandise. If you didn't know I have merch, it's linked down below. So it makes sense that there's a platform fee. However, those two fees total come out to $12.98 a month. That it gets taken out of my earnings. So I made a total of $40.68 for the month of March. Still is nothing to sneeze at. Okay, I don't really want to think about sneezing while I'm going to drink my coffee. Just that $12 fee hurts my soul. It's kind of like Fiverr, who takes 20% out of your earnings. It's just like, ugh. That's just how it is. And honestly, knowing that I have like a reliable platform to go through is really kind of encouraging. Like nobody's giving me money directly. They're going through Patreon, who goes to me. So it feels like a little bit more safe. Not safe. I don't know. I just feel a little more comfortable having a platform that I host on. I recently just posted Walsh's Point of View, which is 3 chapters from Out of My League from Walsh's point of view. And I know Walsh is a huge fan favorite of everybody who has read my stories. If I asked, most people would say that Walsh is their favorite main character love interest from my books. Let me know down below. Who is your favorite love interest of mine? Is it Elijah, Walsh, Lucas, or Vincent? I've got point of view chapters on all of them on Patreon, so if you want to check them out, it's only $1 a month. And that's where I want to round back to. I only have one tier, like I mentioned, it is $1 a month. And like I also said, people pledge more if they choose to. But I've been playing around with a little idea and I would love your guys' feedback on it. So please get your typing fingers ready and let me know what you think about this. I've kind of been wanting to do like a tier for self-publishing. Not like, maybe like tips, but more like sharing my marketing strategies for the month. My income for the month could be interesting to like show how many books I sold, where I sold them. I've been thinking about playing around with sharing those statistics. I don't think I'd ever share them on YouTube. I would only share them on Patreon. And I don't even know what tier I would do that for. I don't know if I would do like a $5 tier. I don't know. But if that's something you're interested in, because I feel like I'm such a numbers gal, I love seeing how many books somebody sold in the month because I'm always like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And one day is going to be me. You know what I mean? So if you guys think that's a cool idea, let me know down below. If you think you'd skip it, you can let me know down below too. Just something I've been playing around with in my mind, but I definitely am going to keep doing the $1 a month Patreon short stories. It has been something that I've loved doing ever since I started it. I look forward to doing the short story every single month and promoting it and sharing snippets on my Instagram. That is always so fun to me. It's like a little mini book launch, you know, and it's just fun to talk about my books in a different way. What Are Friends For was published over a year ago, and we're still talking about it because Elijah's Point of View chapter has just come out in January, you know, and new patrons who sign up still get all of the backlist of stories. So if you sign up to be a patron today, you will get all 6 of those past stories. You can get them from Book Funnel. I'm really excited that this is something that I chose to do, and this is something that you all supported me on. I really can't thank any of you enough. And I really can't thank my patrons enough. To show the love, let's go through them all together. All 41 of them. We have Drea, Katie, Shante, Amara, Liz, Catriona, Kaylee, Catherine, Stephanie, Beta, Zara, Nicole, Megan, Mickey, Catherine, Rhonda, Samantha, Chelsea, Abby, Marin, Kelly Ann, By the Brook, Katie, Kelly, Caitlin, B.A., Heather, Danya, Nichelle, Caitlin, Natalie, Jana, Right with Melanie, Jess, Sarah, Sharon, Samantha, Zoe, Bree, Life with Jessica, and Ralph. Thank you all so much for being a part of this journey over on Patreon. I'm so happy you're loving the short stories so far. And I'm always looking for recommendations on new short story ideas. So if there's a short story that you want me to cover and I haven't yet, let me know down below. Or over on Patreon. You can just comment on the latest post. Anyway, yes, this is my Patreon video, my updated Patreon video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, let me know down below who is your favorite love interest of mine, and what would you think about a self-publishing monthly numbers video, Patreon tier. I'd really love to hear your thoughts down below. If you like this video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Turn on that bell notification because I post videos 3 times a week and I host live streams. I'm Sarah Sutton. I'm an indie author of 4 young adult romance books, all linked down below. If you want to go to Fenton County and fall in love, my books are for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.